It's your open source advocate, and I'm back with another video, and today we're going to do TrueNAS Scale. So I've done TrueNAS Core in the past, which is the BSD version of TrueNAS, running on Unix of course, and it runs jails in the background for all the plugins, and it's an incredibly stable, incredibly awesome system for running as a home network attached storage device so that you can back up and keep all of your special things very safe in that system. But the folks over at IX Systems have been working on a new version of TrueNAS, and it's called TrueNAS Scale, and this runs on a Linux backend, which is really amazing because you get a lot of things out of this whenever you start thinking about it. So one of the things that I really like about TrueNAS is the longevity and the stability of the product. It used to be FreeNAS, it's now called TrueNAS Core. IX System has a professional version that you can also pay to have access to support and things like that as well. But if you want to run the open source version that's free and open source, then it's TrueNAS Core. But now they're working on TrueNAS Scale, which has that Linux backend, and the nice thing about it is the plugin system runs Docker. So now when you start talking about all of the available applications you can run on your TrueNAS system through Docker, it really becomes a very viable and attractive option. So today we're going to go through the installation of TrueNAS Scale and kind of let you see what it looks like and go through a little bit of setup. It's going to be very similar to the TrueNAS Core, but a little bit different as far as how we set up our actual Docker applications to run on TrueNAS Scale. We'll get into that right after this. I want to say thank you to all of my subscribers and all of my patrons over at Patreon. Seriously, you guys make this so worth it for me to do these videos every week. I really truly enjoy it, and I just can't say thank you enough. If you're enjoying these videos, subscribe. Let YouTube know that I'm doing a good job by subscribing to the channel. Plus, you'll get notified when I have new videos coming out. And finally, if you're enjoying what I'm doing, give it a like. Just click on that thumbs up, and that way YouTube knows that you like it, and they'll pass it along to other people that might enjoy my content as well. I really appreciate it. Thank you again. Let's get started. Alright, so the first thing you want to do is get the TrueNAS Scale ISO image. So if you want to download this thing, you need to go out to the TrueNAS Scale page or to the TrueNAS pages, and you need to find their downloads. The easiest way for me to do this usually is just to go TrueNAS Scale download and just Google for it, DuckDuckGo search for it, whatever, but you'll get a link that says download it. And when you get back out here, then you'll see this kind of page. You can just say no thanks and move forward, and you'll get to the download page, and you're really looking for the ISO application. And right here you can click on download now, and you're going to see the last time that it was updated was 2/16/2021, so last month, a little over a month ago from the date that I'm recording this. When you click download now, it's going to start asking about downloading the ISO. Now I've already got it, so I don't need to download it, but you would just click on save and hit OK, of course. Now it's going to download this thing. It's not it's a 1.4 gig download, so be ready for that. Just be prepared. We've already got it, so I've got Proxmox here running, and I've got some Proxmox stuff coming up as well. So I'm going to install this as a virtual machine today, but it's really the same exact process, except I get to record the screen and have a little bit better audio for you without a bunch of glare and things like that, because I'm not using my phone to record the screen. So I'm just going to create a VM here real quick. Down here we'll see that it's going to process. It doesn't take very long, and it says OK. And now if we go up here and look, we've got TrueNAS Scale right here. So I'm just going to click start from here, and then I'm going to go and click on the console, and I will make this full screen so you can see what's happening. And you can see here it comes up with the TrueNAS Scale kind of start screen. It's going to go through a little check process here. And then we're going to do just like we did before. We're going to do install and upgrade. We're going to hit OK. And then it says this computer has less than recommended 8 gigabytes of RAM, and I'm just going to say, yeah, I know. I'm just going to go ahead and tell it it's okay. Operation without enough RAM is not recommended. I'm just going to say yes in this case. Now, heed the warnings. Don't be like me. And it says, select one or more devices where TrueNAS should be installed. So I do want to select that by pressing the space bar, and you see the little asterisk shows up, and we'll hit enter. And it just warns you this is going to erase all the data on the partition. We're just going to say that's okay, I understand that. And then we need to put in a password for our super user here. And we're going to tab down to the OK. And we're going to let this thing run. Alright, so that was really very quick. That was probably 2 or 2.5 minutes total. I did fast forward through it for you guys so you didn't have to sit there the whole time. But that's it. It says it's done, so we're just going to hit OK. And we're going to go down here to number 3 for reboot the system and hit OK. And it's going to come up and tell us, hey, had a hard time ejecting the drive, and it's going to reboot. We can just hit enter to speed that along. So you can see here that it says a start job is running for TrueNAS update, which is interesting. The timer kind of went upwards. It was weird, but there you go. It's getting everything started up, and then it says a start job is running for TrueNAS middleware. Interesting. Okay, so it kind of tells you what it's doing. It lets you know that it's working on something actively. I kind of like that. You can kind of see that in this screen here. Now, of course, TrueNAS is meant to run headless, so you don't have to have an actual monitor attached other than for the initial install. And in this case, we're using it as Proxmox, as a virtual machine. So the installation is basically happening, and we're able to watch this without a monitor actually being physically attached to the device. So that's interesting and pretty useful. So there we go. We've got our TrueNAS set up here. And you can see here that it's got an IP address, so we can actually use the IP address to get to TrueNAS, and we can use either the IPv4 or IPv6 address. If you can remember this guy to type in, go for it. I'm not going to be able to. I'm going to be using the IPv4 address, and then we can actually set up some SSL on it that's certified if we want to with Nginx Proxy Manager and Let's Encrypt, but we do have an encrypted option here. So I'm going to just kind of get out of the console here. And we will go to the browser, and we'll just type in 192.168.7.107. And that brings us to our TrueNAS system. And we log in with root and our password that we set for our root user. And we can tell it no, don't save right now. It's going to pop up and give us a little bit of information, so that's always nice. Here's a documentation site, here's a community forum, so a little bit of information for how to access any help if you need it. We can click on Get Started, and I can tell it, don't worry about saving my passwords for this. And right out of the gate, again, you see a very familiar dashboard. This is the same exact thing that I've shown you in the past. So here's, it's using up 4% CPU, memory is 3.8 gigabytes, and it's telling you free is 2.5 gigabytes. And that's because we're not putting any load on the system yet, so be aware, they suggest 8 gig minimum. It's probably pretty smart to actually heed that warning and use 8 gigs if you can. But, since we're kind of going out of the gate here, we're just going to, out of the gate, give it 4 gigs and see how we can kind of manipulate some things in the system. Now, you notice I don't have any storage set up. So, kind of out of the starting point, if we go to storage, actually, you see there's nothing there, and there's really nothing for us to do because I don't have any disks or anything set up yet. So, we want to actually go and set up some storage disks. But if I click here, you're going to see that I've only got the one disk. Now the nice thing about Proxmox is I actually have all of my disks attached to this thing. So I can go here and I can go to hardware, and I can go to add, and I'm going to say a hard drive. And then I'm going to tell it, I want to add one drive, and I want to make that from my 8 terabytes, and I'm going to give it 2,000 gigabytes, which is 2 terabytes. And I'm going to say add. So now I've got an extra hard drive there. And if I go back in here and I hit refresh, now you see I've got both drives. So it's discovered my secondary 2 terabyte drive here, and I can say, you know what, I want to create some storage out of this guy. So I'm going to go back up here, I'm going to say create a pool. And it's just like we did on the other one. Let me try to make the interface a little bigger. Their font sizing is kind of crazy sometimes. I don't know why they have such variation, but like the label here is so tiny. So we're just going to call this main storage. And encryption, you can check the box if you want encryption on it. I'm not going to do that right now. And then add a VDEV, you can do that. So you've got a few options here. You can say log, hot spare, whatever it is. So we're just going to leave it alone for now. I'm going to select the drive that I want to move, and then I'm going to move it over. Now, it again defaults to Stripe. I don't have any option to change that. It's going to warn me like, hey, you can't really do this, but I'm just going to say it's okay. confirm it, and then I'm going to say create it, and again confirm it, and we're going to create that pool, and it's just going to take 10 seconds or so to kind of create that pool. Not even that long. And now we've got a pool, so we've got our storage pool set. Now we can go over just like we did before, and we can say, you know what, I need to add a data set to it. So I'm going to click on, there we go. I'm going to give my data set a name, and I'm going to call this, I don't know, we can just call it whatever. We can call it app plugins. I don't need any comments, and then we're going to go down here to sync, so we can say inherit standard. So yeah, we're just going to say inherit. I think we'll leave all of the inherits as they are. Encryption options, so again, inherit our encryption selection for the whole drive. So they have ZFS deduplication, which currently is off. That's okay. Case sensitivity is sensitive, and share type is generic, but they do have the option for Samba if you want that. Now there's advanced options as well. I'm not going to jump into that, but we're just going to do save, and then we're going to have an actual data set here. So we've got a data set now. There's all the stuff that you saw before whenever I did TrueNAS Core. It's just the system is a little bit different as far as how it's laid out. So we're going to go down here to system settings, and we're going to go to update first thing out of the gate. So it'll go out and check if there's any updates available, and it says check updates daily and download if available, which is kind of great. And then it says upgrade. This is the process that it's going to go to, and it says I can upgrade from TrueNAS 21.02 to TrueNAS 21.03. So there is a process to do an upgrade, and it says download updates and install manual update file. So it says this is not a production release and should only be used for testing, so be aware of that. This is not actually like something that they're ready to use. So we can say download the updates. Yes. So we'll go ahead and download and update the system to the newest version available here. Alright, it looks like it's about to finish this update. Alright, it's going through our reboot. We'll give it just a minute, and then we'll try to log in again. And we are logged back in. We can see what our CPU is doing. We can see now that we've got some storage, and we've got our dashboard updated. So just like with the other system, you have two-factor authentication set up, you have local users, local groups, directory services, backup credentials, and certificates. So we'll go into local users just like we should, and we're going to say, I need a display note. Okay. All built-in users except root are hidden by default, so this is the same message we get on TrueNAS Core. We're going to add a new user, which is myself. So we're going to create my home in /mount/main storage. If I have an SSH public key, I could put it here so that I could SSH into the system more easily. Here are my permissions. If you wanted to disable a password for a user to force them to use their SSH public key, you can do that as well. My shell is set to bash automatically. I'm going to permit sudo for myself. It is not a Microsoft account. Samba authentication is fine, and I'm not going to lock my user. So we should be done. Just going to click on save. There we go. Now I've got myself set up as a user as well. So you can do that for as many users as you want, of course. Alright, so if we take a look at the services available on TrueNAS Scale, you'll see that there's quite a bit here, and it's really not a bad list at all. So they have Apple File Protocol, Dynamic DNS, FTP, Gluster, iSCSI, LLDP, NFS, so Network File System, OpenVPN Client, OpenVPN Server, rsync, Smart, S3 storage capabilities, SMB for Samba, SNMP for Simple Network Message Protocol, SSH for Secure Shell, TFTP, UPS for your UPS stuff where you're trying to keep the system up and running, and WebDAV, of course, which is pretty nice whenever you think about it. So we've looked at update, we've looked at the services, those are all pretty great. Now let's go look at apps. So when we come to look at apps, of course, they want you to pick an app pool, so we're going to pick main storage, and we're going to choose that. It's going to say configuring, so it says success. We can close that now, and you can see out of the gate they've got a few applications available. So Plex Media Server, Nextcloud, MNIO, and IPFS. So if you've got an interest in running any of those things, you can do that here. Then of course you could click over and see installed applications, which right now there aren't any. Now I know this is a pretty slim list of things that are available. Okay, so I've given it a little bit of time. I wanted to look at the application process for installing things on TrueNAS Scale, and it is supposed to be Docker based. I ran through a couple of things, so I did find on their documentation how to add more apps that are kind of quote-unquote pre-done. But they use Helm, which is basically a Kubernetes type setup thing that IBM came up with. So there's some really cool stuff here and some opportunities to make some really cool applications that I mean, look at this. This is a really great list of add-ons. And it's growing. It looks like they're constantly adding more. And of course, you as a user, if you understand Helm and can set up some things, you can add some to yours as well and put in pull requests to have those added. But I mean, they've got Plex, Nextcloud, Handbrake, MinIO, IPFS, Organizer. Let's see, whatever this is, Lazy Librarian, Deluge, Transmission. So just all kinds of things, Navidrome, music. So you've got Home Assistant, which I'm going to be doing stuff on Home Assistant very soon. Here's Jellyfin, which we've done in the past. I'm going to do a refresher on Jellyfin as well. So there's a lot of really cool stuff that could make it much easier for you, and potentially to install these things and get them up and running. The thing that I find is I unfortunately don't really comprehend completely how they're doing this and what they're expecting from us. So when I say Navidrome, which is a music server. So if I say install, okay, great. It brings me over and says, what do you want to call this? Well, they have rules. You can't use capital letters. You can't use special symbols. It has to be lowercase letters and 0 through 9. So if I just call it Navidrome, that'll be fine. If I don't, it's going to give me an issue. And I have to go through this little wizard. So then it says, here's the image it's going to pull. Here's the version, the tag. And then only pull image if not present on host, which is fine. I already tried this once, so it should be here. Click next. So here's the next part. It says, UTC time zone. Well, you want to find your time zone. The time zones are just all over the place. This is not in alphabetical order, as you can see. So finding your time zone could be a little bit tricky, kind of hard to do. So I know I'm in America, Chicago, which is what I want to find. But it's not exactly easy to spot because this is not in alphabetical order. It'd be great if they could get this alphabetized to make it a little bit easier to find your time zone. See, here's America, Argentina, and then I think we're going to jump out of America here in a minute and be in Antarctica. So this makes it kind of tricky to find where you're looking for. So I'm not real wild about it, but let's just pretend I'm in some other time zone. Who cares, right? PUIDs, it just kind of auto sets. I'm just going to leave those alone. That's just group IDs to allow the application to run. So here's the UMask that they want to set up. I'm okay with all those things. I'm just going to hit next. As you move down, networking. So this is cluster IP. I don't know if this is necessary or not, but I'm going to hit, I didn't do this last time. I'm going to say enable host network because I need to access this thing and I honestly don't know how to do it. I tried to use the IP address to get to it and I had no clue how to do that. So I'm going to tell it, go ahead and do that. It says node port, so maybe I need to use that one. It seems like I saw that in the documentation somewhere. Container port is 4533. And node port to expose for UI is 36052. 36052. We'll try to remember that. 36052. Enable host network. Again, I don't know if I have to do that or not. I'm a little confused by that. So let me just see if node port works and we'll try it. So here are our volume maps, I guess, our storage, which is config and /data. So this is the data set name and the mount path. So I think if we put host path enabled, this actually gives us a place to start actually going. So here's our main storage. That's great. Here's our app plugins location. Here's my home location. So I'll just put that in my home location. Automatic permissions. great. So dataset name music, and again we have to do host path enabled. So we're gonna again go down and pick my home folder, click next. So you just have to kind of do a few extra things that I feel like they could have just done for you out of the gate and made it a little bit simpler. You know, it's not terrible, but so far we're going to see if this even works, honestly. Enable web reverse proxy. I don't know if we need this or not. I'm going to say no, because I'm going to use Nginx Proxy Manager if I want to do that. So I'm going to hit next. Then you have to kind of confirm all of your settings here, which this is all going to be the stuff we just set. I'm just going to say submit. Let's see if it gives us any trouble. It's going to start installing. It may take a minute. It may not take very long since I already have the image downloaded, hopefully. It shouldn't take too long, but it's going to have to set up a few things as far as the image specifics that I just added here for the container. But this really runs Kubernetes in the background with Helm kind of setting things up. And there we see that it shows that it's deploying. And then we see this stop option. Now here, you get some options. I've tried to look at the logs a couple of times, and it comes up again with this form that I'm not sure what I'm trying to pick out of this. I mean, I know that's the container name, so if we do choose, I don't get anything here. Oh, there we go. Hey, look at that. I do get stuff here. Yay! All right. Maybe that means I'm going to be able to access this time. So here's our logs, and it says finished processing music folder. Great. So everything there looks good. We'll see if it just keeps going. I don't know if I have to actually tell it to refresh. I don't think so, but you can download the logs. You can reconnect, all those kind of things, so that's cool. If you do this, I thought this would go back. It doesn't. It just hides the menu on the left. So I thought that would be like a back to where I was kind of thing. So if I go back to applications, though, it shows me installed applications, and it'll kind of refresh. And you see that it says active. Great. Portal, so let's see, maybe that's what I needed in order to get to this thing. Yeah, okay, not bad, so cool. This set up Navidrome for me. It says create an admin user. Let's do that. Let's call him admin. Let's give him a good password here and confirm it, and then we'll create our admin user. And we're going to say don't save for now. That's fine. And oh, nice. Okay, so we do have this. I don't have any music right now. I'll have to see if there's like a way to upload music to this thing, or if you actually just have to put it in those folders. You know, I like UI-based things where I can upload my music and it'll store it in that place. I haven't seen that on some of these things that I've shown you guys, so I'll kind of go through it. I'm not really here to cover Navidrome. I'm here to cover these other applications. So let's close that. That's cool. It's in there. It's running. Let's go back to our options. So if we wanted to do something custom, I'm not real sure how well that's going to work. I'll try to figure that out. We can do one later on that. Let's do. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff in here that's just There's a bunch of these. So there's a lot that I've never done. I don't know anything about. I'm just kind of looking to see what all I see. Let's do Jellyfin, because I kind of know Jellyfin. So again, it comes up with an option, Jellyfin. Great. Let's do next. Here's the image. Again, I'm not worried about that stuff. Here's the PUID and UUID that it wants to use. That's fine by me. Again, the time zone, it's going to use UTC. That's fine. Let's just skip over that for now. Networking, so again, let's tell it to use node port and then 8096, and it says that the port that it's going to expose on the UI is 36052. I think that's the same as the other one. Let's do 36021, and I did not have to enable host networking, which was awesome. Automatic permissions is fine. It wants to make a volume here, so again we'll tell it okay. Let's go find my home, and then good media data set, automatic permissions, same thing. So we'll tell it it's going to be in my home. I don't have any of this. This is all for Navidrome, so we're just going to click the top level folder. Next. And then we have ingress and web proxy configuration. Don't want that. That's fine. So we'll click next. Everything should be the same as what we just did a while ago. We're going to click submit. We're going to let that thing run. So now it shows that we've got two different applications, well, one running and one deploying, which is great. So again, we should be able to look at the logs and everything here. I don't think I can change this. Yeah, no, and no, of course, so that's good. So let's say choose. There we go. So logs are showing up. I think that's a good sign if your logs show up. Scheduled tasks, task manager, updates. Okay. Again, I don't know if this just refreshes on its own every few seconds or anything, but we can just click here on applications to go back to our installed applications. And Jellyfin usually comes up pretty quick. It still says deploying. We'll give it a minute here. And I guess we'll get the portal button when it's actually finished. Now again, we may have to refresh this view to get it to actually show us that it's done. Alright, it shows now that it's active. Great. So let's click on the portal. And there we go. There's Jellyfin. So it's running. Yeah, it's a really long thing there. That's okay. It's running on the port that we specified, which is pretty cool. And we can run through the startup wizard for Jellyfin. So we've got actually two very great applications running. This is through TrueNAS Scale. Again, TrueNAS Scale is a work in progress. So if you decide to go with this thing, be ready to be patient. Be ready to do a little bit of learning because TrueNAS Core is very stable. TrueNAS Scale, I'm going to say in another 6 months is going to be one of those things where you could probably very confidently run it without much worry about things going haywire. But today, I think it's there. It's close as far as just a storage application. But if you're wanting to run like these Docker things, I think that they're still working on some of this and trying to perfect it. But it's coming along. It's a little confusing to me, coming from the Portainer side, where I kind of understand those things because I understand Docker. This is a little bit different to me, but if we can kind of dig in and understand these options that they're offering, I think that's going to make things a lot easier for you. But if you follow what I just did, it seems like it should work for you. So there you go. TrueNAS Scale, I think this is pretty great. I wanted to open up some channels for discussion, so I've created this Rocket Chat server, and I've got it mixed up with Jitsi Meet. I've created a few channels already to start up some discussions, but of course we can always open up more channels. If you'd like to jump in and send me a direct message or just ask a question on one of the channels, I'll be monitoring the system. It'll be up and running. I'm going to leave this up and going so that we can have a place where we can all come together and answer each other's questions and have good discussions and good conversations. It's discuss.opensourceisawesome.com. Again, that's discuss.opensourceisawesome.com. I'll have the links in the show notes and the description. I hope you guys got a lot out of this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, like, subscribe, tell your friends about it so they can come along on the journey with us, and I'll talk to you next time.